You guys, it's literally like almost 5 a.m. and I've not been able to sleep. I've been just really having a lot of things streaming through, and so this is why we're here. The universe literally drug me out of bed right now. Like, I'm in my pajamas, like messy hair, just like we were trying to sleep, and the universe was like, yeah, no, you're not going to sleep right now. You need to share this. So here we are. And, sweetheart, you've been really overthinking your life right now. Part of you is not going to bed until super late because you're overthinking things. You might be having some unhealthy scrolling habits, spending too much time on your phone as a way of distracting yourself from the discomfort you're feeling. And I feel you. Like, this message is for you just as much as it is for me at this time. And so, we gotta be gentle with ourselves. It's like, oh, I can see myself doing this thing that doesn't serve me, and I chose that today, but I'm setting the intention that tomorrow I choose other things that are more aligned with my well-being. Okay? So you're feeling like you're at this crux of life where, like, right now, currently, and there's so many people that I've talked to that are feeling this, so you're not alone in this. There's so many people that I've been encountering that are feeling like you're right on the cusp of a really big shift where, like, you feel how things are changing and you're being called into change, but you're not feeling the clarity as to what exact changes to make yet. Like, yes, there might be small changes of like, okay, we're not doom scrolling anymore. Like, we're setting a time frame for ourselves of how much time we will scroll because we realize that it's actually not beneficial for our well-being to be doing that in like long spurts of time. So we're setting intentions for small things, but you realize how there's some big things that are wanting to change in your life. That might be a job, career, like what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. This shift from, focusing on pouring into someone else's dream to shifting the focus into you pouring into your dreams, and how at times, and when you've spent so much of your life pouring into other people's dreams, there's all sorts of things you have to unravel when it comes to like feeling safe to step into pouring into your own, and to do that without feeling guilty, without feeling like you're doing something wrong. You're here for an unconventional path, and I know that you know this. And so part of you right now is feeling like, okay, I'm feeling like the universe is wanting me to make changes, but it's not clear yet on what the changes that are being called to be made are. Like, you've been shown very clearly what is no longer aligning for you, what you no longer are giving your energy to, the habits you're no longer giving your energy to, the job, the people, like, you're really clear on that right now. Like, you've really been moving through an energy of contrast where, like, you know very clearly what's not aligned. And by knowing what isn't aligned, you're coming back to the clarity of what really is aligned. And deep down, I think you already know what is really aligned, but there's a party that's afraid to step into it because it requires you to show up as a completely different version of yourself that other people have not experienced, that they have not witnessed, that they have not seen. But this version of you that you're being called to like step into and like unveil to the world, you already move as her in silence, in your own energy. Like, you're very intimately connected with this version of you. You already know this version of you. This version of you isn't foreign to you. The only part that's been foreign has been letting it be fully outwardly expressed, and you now holding and carrying a new identity where you're not this compartmentalized person where it's like, okay, I have my muggle job here and I do this thing over here and people know me as this thing, but then there's these other things that I do like in my free time that like are my passions and the things that I really love and that fucking light me up from the inside. And so you feel like you've had to like compartmentalize aspects of yourself, and then you have to like pick either or at certain times. And we want you to know that like it's a both and, but the clarity that's coming through here is that you're being called to really shift your identity into this version of you that is moving with their dream life, that is moving with their passions, moving with what it is they really want to do. You're being guided to bet on yourself. to go all in on yourself. And part of you is like, well, I tried going all in the past, and when I did so, I fell flat on my face. Well, in the past, you also had a safety net. And the clarity that's coming through is that this time you know that there isn't a logical safety net. Like, the universe is your safety net. You have wings. You know this. But you haven't trusted your wings. And so part of you has been afraid to jump off that cliff. You know, metaphorically, we speak in metaphor here, so please don't take some of these things literally. But I know your spirit's the one who's listening to this, not your human. So, like, your spirit is, like, here to help calm your human from this place of, like, your human self is over here, like, over-analyzing, trying to figure everything out in this logical way because, like, okay, shit's gotta change. I'm ready for this level up. I'm ready for things to change and shift in my life. But you're too focused on, like, part of you that's worried about what you are letting go of. And you're worried about how that's going to impact you when, like, you're being guided to, like, get excited about the level of freedom that's coming in for you. If you've just recently let go of something, like, you've come to the realization that's like, I can't keep this job anymore. You're most likely someone who lives a very unconventional path, and you are realizing, I can't keep this job that I fucking hate any longer. Like, mentally, it's just not working. Spiritually, you just know. Like, you just know. It's irrefutable now. Where you just know that, like, I can't keep working this job because it's not aligned with me, because it's not what I actually want. You are here to follow the path of your desires because your desires are the path. And there's a part of you that intellectually knows this, but has been afraid to apply it because it requires you to show up as a whole new identity of yourself. Who bets on herself, who trusts that, like, okay, it's all working out for me, even though right now my external fucking circumstance is not fucking showing and reflecting that. But this is where, you know, the message that keeps coming through is, like, your blind faith has been activated, and you need to be moving with that blind faith that's like, you know what, Source has got me. Source has got me. And that, okay, I may not have the logical safety net of, like, a savings to fall back on or parents that will help you out when things get hard. You may not have that. And it might have been really hard that you're seeing other people around you in your life have those things and have that level of support. And part of you is being guided to trust in a support that is even greater than that. To trust in the support of Source, to trust in the support of the divine that wants you to be moving with this path of your desires. And is, like, giving you that nudge and giving you that clarity because it's like, you know, it's go time. You know that it's like, okay, our energy, like, we're unplugging from these certain things that we've been doing and these certain people that we've been spending our time around that we realize are not healthy for our mental health or for our physical health or just for our overall well-being. Like, you are influenced by the 5 most people you spend your time around. And so when you look at that list of 5 people, are those people happy? Are those people at peace? Do those people have regulated nervous systems? Do those people know how to regulate their emotions? Do those people know how to communicate healthily? Do those people move with integrity? That right there, I know as you've heard all of these questions and you're thinking of some of these people in your life and some of these dynamics in your life and you're like, no, they don't move in integrity. No, they don't have a regulated emotional system, a regulated nervous system. No, they don't communicate in healthy ways. You've been around some very destructive energy. You've been around people who have been hurt and their hurt has been projected onto you. And I'm so sorry you've had to experience that. And you're just realizing now, like, with this eclipse, you really set some firm boundaries of, like, this is what I'm not tolerating anymore. And now you're realizing that, like, this energy is saying to you, that's like, okay, that's had its ripple effect. Where it's like, okay, now it's like where you had said, I don't want to tolerate this type of energy anymore. I don't want to tolerate this type of energy anymore. The universe is now saying, like, okay, so then stop tolerating it. And you got to let go of that before you know what is going to take its place. You know, we're usually taught you need to have a plan before you let go of something because that's the responsible thing to do. And I'm going to be the unconventional person who's just going to share with you today that, like, stop trying to make the plan. Because your best laid plans are always going to be overridden by the universe's plan. And when you're trying to make a plan, you're coming from your logical mind. Part of you has been trying to, like, logically figure out, what am I supposed to do? What's my next step? How am I supposed to go forth with this? I feel how I'm supposed to make these changes. How am I supposed to logically set myself up for success? And the type of success that the universe is bringing in, oof, this is so good. The type of success that the universe is bringing in for you is not logical. It's not logical. It is going to not only blow your mind, but everyone else's mind around you in your life. Because it's not coming through logically. You feel how you are being guided to choose the illogical choice right now. The illogical path. And you're like, well, I'm kind of confused. I don't feel like I have the full clarity on, like, what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's like, no, deep down, you know the illogical choice that's coming up right now. But part of you is afraid to choose the illogical choice. Because we've been taught that you can't move from your emotions. You have to move from logic. When, like, as women, our emotions literally govern our whole life. Every week we are a completely different woman emotionally because of our hormones. So saying, like, don't make your decisions from your emotions is literally like saying, as a woman, don't acknowledge a whole part of yourself. That you are an emotional being. And when part of you is emotionally feeling like, okay, I'm feeling like I'm on the cusp of things, and I'm feeling how this thing over here is no longer aligned, and, like, the things that you are aware of are no longer aligned, like, it has become so spitting clear. Like, it is so fucking clear that you can't refute it anymore. Because every time when you're around that specific person, you feel really drained, you feel really exhausted, you're just like, oh, I'm really not liking being around this person's energy, like, wow, this is really impacting me. You're just realizing how the universe is really orchestrating space between you and the dynamics that are no longer benefiting you. And I feel like a lot of this is coming through within, like, work and career dynamics and your inner circle. And realizing, like, there's been people in your life who have been very much close to that inner circle that have not been healthy for you. That, like, just being around them has been continuing to play out certain wounds. And, like, you bringing full healing to those wounds. Because, like, these are deep inner child wounds that you've carried for quite some time. And your adult self now is the one who's showing up to protect your inner child, and, like, the healing of those wounds is for that adult self to be like, actually, I won't subject my inner child to this kind of pain anymore. I won't subject my inner child to this type of mistreatment or being around certain energies that leave her feeling uncomfortable, or she feels like she has to be on eggshells around, or she can't have her joy around those people. Like, that's becoming so clear to you, where you realize, like, I can't keep subjecting my inner child to that. Like, at one point in your life, you learned a level of tolerance, and you've carried that now into your adult life of just being very tolerant of people's poor behavior and poor treatment towards you. And now it's like there's this fire, like, brewing within you, and it's just like, it's brewing, it's going. Like, the universe is fanning the flames of that inner fire that's like, this fire is here to protect you and to help you in setting those boundaries for your well-being, that says, I will no longer be mistreated. I will no longer continue to keep myself in environments around people who mistreat me, or who take advantage of my kindness, or who don't respect me, or don't value me. And, like, it's so clear to you now. Like, you're seeing very clearly the contrast. Like, the contrast has been very clear for you. And I feel like you've been someone who has experienced a lot of contrast in your life, and at one point you used to be a victim to it, but in your, like, in this other part of your life you've been in, you've actually realized, like, okay, where's this contrast serving me? What's this contrast teaching me? And it's like, oh, it's showing me how I don't want to be around that person. It's showing me how this job is exhausting and is not worth the fucking money. It's like, I have this feeling you've been working a job where you're paid well, but What's the cost it's had on your spirit? What's the cost it's had on your spirit? What's the cost it's had on your spirit? What's the cost it's had on your mental health? And then when you think of how it's impacted your mental health, it's probably impacted your physical health too, because those two are very much intertwined and entangled with one another. So when your mental health isn't doing well, usually your physical health isn't doing very well either. And realizing that, like, other people's dense fucking energy of their own unhealed, repressed, unprocessed pain, they are carrying that in their energetic field. That's why when you're around certain people, they feel really heavy to be around, because all of that's just floating in their field. And then when you're around it, you're subjected to feeling that heaviness too. And I have this feeling you've probably been the kind of person who tries to come in and help, and you've tried to help for a long time because, like, you know what it felt like to go through that heaviness in your life on your own, and that, like, you didn't have other people to support you through that. You didn't have other people to help you navigate that and alchemize that. But that was also your superpower. Because you didn't have other people to support you through that, you learned how to be that support for yourself. You learned how to alchemize that pain for yourself. You are not here to fix someone else's pain, and you've spent way too much time trying to fix other people's pain. And now your spirit is just speaking so clearly to you, and it's like you're not continuing to help these people who have been destructive towards you. These energies that are dense and heavy, you're not meant to be around anymore. You learned tolerance at one point, but you're at a point now where, like, when you were a kid, like, I'm getting the message is so clear. When you were a kid, you learned tolerance because, like, you had to do that to survive, but then you've carried that into all of your life. Thinking that I have to just tolerate people treating me poorly. I have to just tolerate this stupid job I don't care about. Or I have to tolerate this boss who's and just does not have a level of self-awareness. And you're realizing, like, all of these things that's like, wow. Your spirit's made it so clear. You cannot continue on the same path. And things are about to be changing, and you feel like they're about to be changing, but they haven't changed yet. And it's like you feel right before you're experiencing a big breakthrough, or right before you experience that big quantum shift. You feel the tension right before it happens. You know, it's like the rubber band effect that Bashar talks about, where it's like when you pull a rubber band back, it gets to a point where eventually, like, when you let go, it flies the other way and, like, slingshots you. That's what you're being lined up for. That's why it feels so uncomfortable right now, because you're being pulled so far back. And part of you is like, I feel like, am I not on the right path? Am I, like, taking steps back right now? Sometimes you have to take those steps back because it's that tension that then propels you forward. And when I'm speaking of taking steps back, I'm not saying, like, go back to the job you already know you don't want to be at. I'm talking about, like, taking steps back is in, like, stepping back from those things you already know that you are not meant to be doing anymore. Stepping back from them, and to do that as an act of self-love that's like, you know what, I love myself enough to trust my spirit. And my spirit right now is saying, I have to trust the illogical path. The illogical path is what you're being guided to right now. And of course, it's uncomfortable because we've been taught and conditioned through the inverted system, the inverted reality, that, like, you have to choose the logical, practical path. But, like, you're not here for the logical, practical path. You're here for your divine path. And your divine path is anything but logical, because it doesn't move from the mind. It moves from the heart. Because when we're trying to logic our way through things, we are too much in the mind. We're trying to have the mind make all the decisions, and the mind is great, the mind is wonderful, but like we also have to let the heart be the guide. The heart is the quantum map that is trying to guide you towards what it is you actually want, because your heart knows what you want. It knows what you want by how it feels. And this is what you're realizing, that like at one part of, I don't know why this is so difficult for me to say, at one part of your life, you didn't have the discernment of what misalignment felt like. Where it was like, oh, I can just, you learn you learn tolerance. So you would tolerate misaligned situations because you're like, well, I've learned to tolerate this. It's not that bad, but it wasn't what you actually wanted. Like for myself, I tolerated going to college for 6 fucking years to get a degree, only to like get out of college and then like start taking jobs in like corporate settings. And I was like, this is not what I fucking want. But I kept tolerating it because I learned tolerance. And so this energy is really showing you just how much tolerance you've learned, but also now that you have to be discerning with what your body is communicating to you. Where your body is like, I'm not feeling safe in this environment around these people. I'm not finding enjoyment sitting around and doing these certain behaviors with these people. Like, it's becoming really clear to you. Like, at one point in your life, you couldn't discern what was misaligned and what alignment felt like because you were able to just kind of like be in that neutral place because you were like, well, I can tolerate this. And you're at a point now in your life where you don't have to tolerate shit. You don't have to tolerate being in miserable situations. Like, first of all, this life is too short. It is too short, and this is a message for myself, too, that life, like, yes, you're beyond time, but you are here for a potent mission, and, like, you're not here to just be tolerating shit you don't want to be doing anymore. That is, 111 on a timer, like, that is exhausting to you now, because your spirit is like, I got shit that I'm here to create. And if I'm wasting my time with people that don't align with me, doing things that don't align with me, being in environments that are not aligned for me, you're at the complete opposite end of the spectrum of what it is you're wanting. Your desires are the path. And if your desires, and as your desires are the path, like that language shift right there, like as our desires are the path, that is the direction we're meant to go, and we are meant to follow what's feeling good for me. What's feeling expansive. Because sometimes expansion doesn't necessarily feel good. Sometimes expansion feels really scary. But like fear and excitement, like one of my gymnastics coaches when I was a kid growing up had said to me, fear and excitement feel the same way in the body. It's only your perception of it in your mind that changes the experience you have about it. Because there's a different feeling when it's, I'm afraid of doing this because it's going to expand me, or this is danger. The feeling of danger in the body is very different. But this also comes in with like the subconscious rewiring piece. Of like really delving into inquiry with yourself of like, why are you so afraid? Like because if anything that you perceive as a threat, you won't go towards, like, because it's your subconscious mind protecting you. So if what it is that you actually want, you feel as a threat, you won't go towards it. So it's like having some deeper inquiry with yourself of like, what am I actually afraid of? What am I actually afraid of? Am I afraid of losing love in my life? I think that's one of the biggest things that all humans are navigating right now in this world. Everyone is afraid of losing love in their life. Or they're moving from a place of a wounded inner child that's been doing certain things to get that love that they never had. Only to realize, like, the people and places and things that you're looking for love at is not where you're going to find it. You're not going to find the love you desire in misalignment. You'll find it within yourself, and you can find it within yourself even when you're in a misaligned situation. Because you know what it feels like when something feels right. And you know what it feels like now, like, you now have the level of discernment that's like, when something's not right, it's so clear to me that, like, the universe makes it clear for you. So that you can't just like, oh, well, like, that's not a full sign. Like, no, it was a full sign. It was a full sign. Your boss taking advantage of you, full sign. Full sign from the universe. Like, that's a red flag on the field. And it's like, you've ignored a lot of the red flags. And now you have a level of discernment that, like, you literally can't unsee them. You literally can't ignore them. And so while part of you is trying to, like, logic your way through this chapter right now, I just want to remind you, you're not going to figure it out with logic. So can you sit back, breathe for a fucking minute, maybe lay on your floor for 5 minutes, and stare at your ceiling? And just lay there. And just like, you know what? I don't need to figure this out. Can you give it up to the universe? Can you give it up to a higher power that has your best interest in mind, that knows where you want to go, that knows where your soul is meant to go? Can you just, like, chill out for a minute and be like, universe, I'm giving this up to you because I don't know what the fuck to do with it. Because, like, you've had too many nights of being awake in the middle of the night and being like, I can't sleep because I'm overthinking my life so much, thinking, I gotta make a decision right now. And right now, honestly, the energy that's coming through here is that you're not meant to make any sort of, like, forward moving decision yet. You just know the decisions that you need to make are decisions around what you are not going to do anymore. Those are the decisions you are being guided to make right now. Of, like, what are you not going to do anymore? You don't need to figure out just right now, what am I going to do? It's, what are you no longer doing? What are you no longer entertaining? What are you no longer tolerating? And, like, letting that be the focus of this energy in this time, of this interim, as we're coming into this full moon. Because with that full moon, it's going to be giving you more clarity of, okay, this is what I needed to, stop doing, but what do I want to do? Because when you're too focused on the shit that you don't want to be doing, like, you can't focus on both at the same time. So it's like, if you're always looking at, well, I'm focusing on what I don't want to be doing, then you find how you end up continuing to be doing what you don't want to be doing because you keep focusing on it. And I'm only speaking from my own experience here. That, like, you have to take your focus off of, like, okay, I don't want to be doing this job. Okay, well, what would I like to be doing? What would I like to be doing? You don't need to make any decisions just yet. But, like, tuning into what would I like to be doing? Well, I would like to be moving from my passions. Like, this, first of all, I'm no astrologer, but I do know the astrological energy that's coming through in November is here to shift our entire fucking reality on a quantum scale. Like, it's here to change shit. Like, 9 to 5, no longer a thing. Soul-led endeavors, that's what people are moving with. Because you can't not do that anymore. You've done the path of, like, okay, I do this thing over here, I work the muggle job, and I do my passions, or I tolerate this thing over here, but, like, so much of this is very much career-based. And it's not even, like, career, it's, like, your soul path, what you are meant to be doing. Like, how you are meant to be spending your time. How you are meant to be spending your wave. Because we don't use the word week here. Like, no, it's not how you're spending your week. It's how are you spending this wave. You have more power over your life than you realize. But that power doesn't come from logically figuring it out. At one point in your life, it did. At one point in your life, that was the equation that was in front of you. But you've now realized that, like, the equation is changing, and there's different variables that you need to take into consideration, which are, like, variables as in, like, things you value, aspects of yourself that you need to include in the equation of life that you're living by. Where, like, for myself, hormonally, I need 9 hours of sleep a night. And some people in my life find that absolutely ridiculous and want to call me lazy and be like, well, it must be nice. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I've been through a lot of chronic health issues. So I know now that, like, if I don't give myself 9 hours of sleep, like, my hormones are fucked and my health suffers. It's like that is a variable of my equation that I have to honor, because if I don't, I've experienced mono multiple times in my life. I've experienced burnout. I've experienced several health issues, and I've had to meet that edge so many times to realize I can't keep living by an equation that doesn't account for the fact that I need more sleep than most people. And instead of shaming myself about that, it is something I've just had to accept about myself and accept about my precious body, that she's like, hey girl, we've been through some trauma. We've been through some shit over the years. We need 9 hours of sleep. And to not guilt your body for what it is she needs. And so what are your variables that you're being called to include in this new equation of your life? Is it for you that you need the time to get up and go to the gym in the morning before you do something? Is it that, you need the time to sit down and journal, or you need to have the ability to read a book? You need, what is it that you need for your balance of life? What do you value? Those are certain variables. But what is it that you need? And, not from a desperate, I need this. But, what are the things that are a non-negotiable in your life for your well-being? For myself, I have, healthy food. I gotta be able to eat healthy food. I can't be in a schedule where I'd have to be eating fast food. That's just it's not doable for me. Because I've seen what that costs. And so sometimes we have to look at the equation we have been living by that doesn't account for all of the variables that are important to us. It may have certain benefits of it, but it might be costing your spirit. It might be costing your health. It might be costing your mental health and your well-being in ways that you may not see, but I feel like you are seeing it. That sticking with this job, I have a level of freedom and I'm making I'm making decent money, but I'm working with people that their energy is just fucking awful. And I'm seeing how that's impacting me. I'm working with people who are moving from a scarcity mindset. I'm not wanting to be around that type of energy. It's becoming so clear for you. Where you see the equation that you have been living by is not an equation you have crafted. It is an equation that has been given to you by an inverted system and influenced by that system, as well as influenced by the media, people around you, your parents, your caregivers, your peers, your teachers. It's been so heavily influenced from the outside and not an equation of your own choosing. And so this energy is bringing you to a place of showing you the contrast in your life. Because when you know what you don't want, it gives you a little bit more insight on what it is you do want when you do actually sit with it and shift that focus of okay, this contrast is serving me. What is it showing me? Well, it's showing me I don't like how this person treats me. Okay, that's showing me I want to be around people who treat me with a level of respect. I want to be around people that I feel genuinely care about my well-being. I want to be around people who have an abundance mindset. You don't realize how being around people who live in a scarcity mindset can influence you when you are around that significantly. You may not realize it, but that energy is just floating in their aura. And when you come around, you can feel when things are misaligned even before you can put language to it. Your body can pick up on it. Your body has so much innate intelligence. And so you're being guided to come back to listening to your body. If your body is feeling really uncomfortable around certain people, you need to trust it as the sign that's I can't be around those people anymore. I've realized certain people that were in my life, I cannot spend time with them anymore. It's well, that was a great chapter, but I'm realizing how those people and their habits and behaviors and their ways of having fun and how we used to connect no longer resonates with me. And me actually being in that environment is actually not serving me, and it's actually become destructive towards me. because it's so misaligned with my greater values and what I want. And my body is just saying, like, your body will reject people before your mind catches up to the knowing of it. And this doesn't just go forth with romantic relationships. This happens with friendships. This happens with people you hang out with. This happens with, like, your boss, your coworkers. Like, this happens with people you are around. Your body can pick up on someone else's density that they're carrying in their body. And when there's too big of a gap, that's when you can feel like, whoa, there's a huge gap of dissonance here. And it's why I'm not feeling comfortable being around this person. And instead of feeling like, well, I just need to learn how to tolerate it more. I just need to learn how to tolerate being around people who have really shitty mindsets and really shitty attitudes. Like, do you hear yourself? Do you hear yourself, darling? You don't need to learn more tolerance. You've learned and mastered 34:44 on the timer. You've learned and mastered that part of the path of learning how to tolerate other people and accept them for where they are on their path and their journey. And now you're in your era of discernment. That's like, okay, I've learned how to tolerate and accept people for where they are, but now I'm discerning of who the fuck actually deserves my time. Who is actually beneficial for me to be around. What environments are actually beneficial for me to be in. And, like, this is why you're feeling like I'm feeling this energy that, like, you're overwhelmed. Because you're like, I'm overwhelmed. There's so many moving parts. So many aspects of my life are wanting to change. And I can feel like I'm right on the cusp of it, but I don't know how it's going to change. And part of you feels like, I got to be the one to orchestrate that change. There's something I got to do to orchestrate that change. All you need to do to orchestrate that change is to stop doing the things that you know are misaligned. It's like if you're holding I'm getting the vision of, like, you're holding a hot potato and you're just like, this potato is burning the fuck out of my hand. And you're sitting there like, wow, this is really misaligned, this very hot potato that I'm holding on to. But you're, like, telling everybody in your life how hot this potato is and how it's burning you. And it's like an eternally hot potato. Like, this potato is not losing its heat. And so part of you's like, well, if I can just learn how to tolerate holding this potato, maybe it won't burn me. And it's like, no, it's misaligned. It's hot. You need to put it down. You need to set the hot potato of misalignment in your life down. Because it's burning you. It's burning you, sweetheart. And you don't have to learn, how can I tolerate the burn of this more? I need to actually be discerning and realize I don't have to tolerate this anymore. I have the freedom of my choice, and this energy is bringing you to a choice point. Of, like, I'm no longer choosing X, Y, and Z. And it's like, I have a general idea of what I want to choose, but, like, you're not at that point yet where, like, you got to orchestrate the big shift in your life. Like, this, I honestly feel like this energy is bringing forth these potent shifts, and it's not going to be coming from, like, just one big fucking move that you made that changed everything. Like, it is seemingly small shifts in your life that are compounding. So much of, I'm not eating gluten anymore. Okay, I'm not buying my food from Walmart. It's like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not forcing myself to wake up at 8 a.m. when I've only had 6 fucking hours of sleep and telling myself that I need to fucking go through life like that. It's like, I'm no longer living according to the societal standard of how I've been told that I need to live. Thinking that money only comes from having a job and that these are the only ways that I can be supported. Your divine gifts want to support you. They want to support you. And you know what gifts I'm talking about. You have some powerful gifts to you. You've unlocked them. You've dabbled in them. And you've played with those gifts alongside what you have been doing. And at one point, you put some of those gifts on the back burner. And you're like, I had to be practical. I had to be logical. The deeper part of you is like, look where that logic has gotten you. Did it get you to the success you wanted? Did it get you to the fulfillment you wanted? And the answer's been no. So the energy with this time right now He's saying to choose the illogical path. And like, oof, I don't know if you just heard my gut, just like that happy, like, yes, choose the illogical path. The illogical path is where you're being guided. It's what wants to support you. Because the heart moves beyond logic. Spirit moves beyond logic. You've been conditioned into utilizing your ego and the mind to move with logic, but, like, newsflash, none of reality is logical. And, like, the deeper you delve into quantum physics and, like, the magic and mystery of our world, you start to realize that nothing here is logical. Nothing. The synchronicities that a lot of people just consider coincidences, those don't come through logically. This glow up that you're about to have is not coming from you logically figuring your life out and taking the logical steps. You're here for a life of fucking magic. And I know it because it's streaming through me, and you just manifested me here at fucking, what time is it now? At 5:15 in the morning. I have not gone to sleep, mind you. I usually go to bed at like 3 a.m. I have not gone to sleep yet. You manifested me here to deliver this message to you. To remind you that you are here for a magical fucking life. And that magical life does not come through and unfold in your life by following the logical, practical path that someone else in the inverted system, and your parents and your teachers and your caregivers and what anyone else has crafted for you. Like, that's not your path. And you've tried to, like, dabble with both paths and, like, make it work and find that balance. And, like, no, babe, the scales need to be balanced now. Where, like, the scales have been imbalanced because you've been pouring so much into other shit for other people. And so, like, there's a huge imbalance. And, like, the balance that needs to happen is you pouring into you to balance those scales out. And what I mean by pouring into you is pouring into what you are passionate about, what you fucking care about, what lights your fucking soul up. Because you've been living this life feeling like, so I just have to, like, turn off this part of me that's, like, extremely passionate and try to be a normie? No! Like, snap out of it! The logical path is not your path. And you gotta let yourself trust that now. It's like, okay, I don't know what is going to happen by me letting go of certain things that are not aligned. You can't measure what you're going to gain sometimes by what you let go of. Majority of the time, you sure as fuck can measure what you think you're gonna lose. What you think you're gonna lose. But you're not losing anything when you're letting go of something that is heavy and not aligned for you to begin with. And releasing, choosing those things that aren't aligned with you, it's not a loss, it's a liberation. It's liberating you from those limits. It's liberating you from feeling like you have to do shit you don't want to do. It is not a loss, it is a liberation. So you can be moving with the divine reality that is here to fully support you. And the divine reality does not move from logic. Just take a deep breath. Stop trying to figure your life out. If figuring your life out worked, you would have already figured it out by now. You're not here to figure your life out. You're here to live your life. And living a life of liberated living is calling us into trusting the illogical path. Trusting that nudge that's saying, yeah, you should just, like, go all in on what it is you really want. Because what else is there to do? What else is there to do? And go all in on what it is you want, realizing that, okay, what if it is illogical? What if you can't see what you'll gain by going all in on that? What if you can't see what you'll gain by letting go of people and jobs and situations and dynamics and environments that don't align with you? You can't see right now what you're going to gain. But the universe has so much amazing, magical support and magical things, magical experiences that it wants to deliver to you. But it's needing to move some heavy things out first. It's needing to move you into better environments that are more supportive for you. Supportive of your well-being, because guess what? Your well-being is the foundational basis of your entire existence. So you're being guided to let that be the focus of your life. To let that be the new priority that's like, actually, like, my well-being needs to be the number one thing that is prioritized in my life over everything. Because when your well-being improves, every area of your life improves. Your mental health, your physical health, your finances, the amount of joy you have in your life. Doesn't mean that you don't have challenges. You just don't have stress. You'll have challenges, but stress is not a part of that equation. So that's what's wanting to come through. If you've actually listened to this thus far, can you please comment, can you comment the little magic wand down below if you've actually watched this far? Just as a little activation of reminding yourself that, you hold the wand of your life. You can cast new spells over your life. What if you letting go of all this heavy shit actually brings forth so much amazingness for you? You are wielding a new world for yourself. One that prioritizes your well-being. Because if we don't prioritize our own well-being, energetically, we are not going to necessarily receive the reflection of people outside of us giving a fuck about our well-being either. So it's you can't be waiting on the world to change and waiting on the outside to change and waiting for your boss to learn how to emotionally regulate themselves and waiting on, your old friends to move beyond their destructive, unhealthy habits. You can't be waiting for other people to change in order for you to be happy and in order for you to prioritize your well-being. And so that's what this energy is saying. So that was meant for someone to hear today. You called me here to deliver this at 5 o'clock in the morning. And it was a message that I needed to receive as well. I'm not speaking from a mountain here. I'm in this divine experience of, being the universe, playing the game of being a human, who's also got a spirit along to assist you along the path. And so if you've actually listened to it this far, please comment below, little magical wand symbol, just to remind you that magic is everywhere. You are magic, and you are here for a magical life. And magic doesn't move from logic. So it's time to come back to the illogical, unconventional, magical way of existing. Because in past parts of your life, when you moved through that illogical way, when you trusted those illogical ways that the universe was guiding you to move, your life got really paradoxical, really mystical, and it was just everything just worked out for you. And people around you were just odd, how are things just always working out and just always coming into place for you? And it's I'm just trusting this magic that's guiding me. And so you're being guided to trust the magic that's saying right now, you're safe to move with an illogical way. You're safe to move with, direction outside of the confines of limitation that you've been taught. So I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here for this lovely, middle of the night chat. My spirit is now feeling that it is time for me to go to sleep now that has been channeled and released. Like, that really needed to come out. So I don't even know everything that's actually been said here. So this will be really interesting for me to listen back to, how all of this unfolds. You know, because when Spirit's coming through you, it's like, you're kind of like out of the way, and you're just like, okay, I'm just letting it move through me. And that's what this energy is saying. Like, let Spirit move through you. Like, decisions have already been made through you. And that's been so clear. So, like, let those decisions be made through you. Let yourself move through this time, knowing that, okay, I don't need to make any sort of decision right now. But I know where my energy is no longer wanting to be placed. And it's the decision of no longer putting your energy into things that you don't want to be doing anymore. So, I love you. And I'll see you next time in another magical now moment when we have another chat. So, I hope this has been able to help you in your journey. In your journey of coming back to the magic. Coming back to the mystical reality. The mystical reality is the primary reality, and the mystical reality has never left. We've just been taught and trained into this patriarchal, inverted, oppressive, logical system. And the mystical reality exists outside of it. And it's just a frequency shift away. And you're already in it. Like, if you've listened to this all the way to this point, your energy is already completely shifted and reoriented. Just by hearing this coming through, every cell in your body is receiving what has been said here. If you so choose to allow it. If you so choose to allow it, every cell in your body, regardless, is listening. It's why the information and the content you're consuming influences you. So, just through listening to this, your cells are shifting, your cells are changing. Your energetic field is shifting. Your awareness has moved from up here in the logical mind and dropped down into the heart. Where it's like, it's safe for me to move with what seems illogical. The heart knows. The heart is the quantum map. It knows where you are going. And so you might think, well, this is kind of weird, you're having me take a turn here. It's like when you're looking at a GPS, and the GPS is like, okay, you need to take a left turn here. And you're like, but why? I'm supposed to be going fucking east. And like, you know, the GPS is like, no, you need to take the turn here because farther up the road, it's a one-way and you can only go the other way. So it's like your heart is here guiding you. Your heart has the map. So it's like right now, it may seem illogical that we're wanting you to turn left. But you gotta trust that your heart is here to lead you to something so amazing. The life that you want. Your life is here. Like, your heart is here to support and assist and guide you along the path. It can't lead you wrong. It's here to literally serve your well-being and serve your existence. And your spirit's here to assist in that process too. Alright, that's everything for tonight. I'll see you in another now moment. And may your next now be wonderful. And may things continue to get better and better for you. Because the better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets. Today, tomorrow, and the next. Because you're a being beyond time. Here for a magical existence. That's what you came here for. It's for a really magical existence. So, yeah. We're off to dream time. Peace. We're gonna go... yeah, playing the magic of dream time. I'll see you in another Quantum Now.